Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. We're back with an in-game tactical analysis of the Champions League encounter between Leipzig and Tottenham. A managerial great and one of the brightest managerial prospects squared off, but Nagelsmann came out comfortably on top, thanks to a double by Sabitzer and a Forsberg goal, and Leipzig were generally the more clinical finishers. But let's take a look at the tactics used by both managers. A quick reminder of both teams' formations, courtesy of the OneFootball app. Both Mourinho and Nagelsmann used back five formations on paper, which were fairly fluid in actuality. For stats, match updates, and news about your favorite team, check out the OneFootball app in the link below. Let's start with how Spurs look to play in possession. From deep, Spurs were aware of Leipzig's tendency to press high, so often we saw Lloris play it long and early into the wide regions. However, when they did play out to the centre-backs, they were still vulnerable to being pressed high by Leipzig. When they built in their default shape, Leipzig could essentially go man-to-man around the pitch, with the forwards on the centre-backs, wing-backs to wing-backs, etc. But Leipzig's front three also pressed from good angles, making sure their cover shadows covered the passing lanes into the defensive midfielders. This meant that often, the centre-backs were forced long. Even when Spurs did get the ball into their double pivots, Lima and Sabitzer were quickly upon them, so they couldn't turn to face the rest of the pitch. One of the keys to this pressing system was that their centre-backs could confidently advance high up the pitch to help the press, as Ali and Lamela aren't the quickest, and Upamecano and Klosterman had the pace to keep up with Lucas. So, instead of looking in behind for the solution, Spurs instead dropped Ali into the midfield to make a third midfielder to create a 3 versus 2 here, and Spurs were able to get more possession in this manner, whilst Lucas perched on the defender's shoulder, ready to make the run in behind, and Lamela moved to the link position, allowing the fullbacks high. But even when Ali got the ball, Leipzig were dynamic and shifted across to ensure that he rarely got time on the ball to turn. Spurs' alternative in the build-up was to shift to a back four, with Aurier especially moving to the right wing position and Tanganga becoming the right back and the rest shifting across. The same pattern could be repeated on the left with Alderweireld at left back. This allowed them to get width on the flanks while still maintaining defensive solidity by keeping the now fullback deep as opposed to traditional overlapping fullback. In addition, it allowed Ali, Lamela and Lucas to all be central and to try and create more passing options here against Leipzig's double pivot when they pressed. If Spurs did this pattern high up though, Upamecano was a front foot centre back who could step up and tackle the forward before the play developed, whilst the rest of the defenders shifted to a back four seamlessly. But Spurs did get success through Aurier, who was positioned high, especially on the transition, as he was constantly an outlet to get the cross into the box. At the same time, this is where Leipzig thrived. Werner would position himself on whichever side the wing-back had become a winger, ensuring that he was forcing one of the wide centre-backs even wider. As soon as Leipzig won the ball deep, they were not afraid to play long into this channel to isolate them 1 against 1, and Werner's pace usually won out, and they created many chances in this manner. This principle is also how Leipzig's first and third goals come about. But in controlled possession, what did Leipzig look to do? Well, when they were deep, if they stayed in their usual shape, Spurs could man-to-man press them as Leipzig did to them. So often, whether from the keeper or just from deep, Upamecano would step into the midfield alongside Lima to form a double pivot and outnumber the Spurs man. What this meant is that Sabitzer could now push higher up. This meant when Leipzig did go long, they now had an extra man around the ball, and in Schick, they had a target man, which is something that Spurs didn't have. Nkunku or Werner could drop alongside Sabitzer now, meaning they drew the attention of Spurs' pivots instead, so Leipzig often had the outball to one of these men. This meant that Leipzig could move up the pitch in a more controlled manner. When they were higher up the pitch, they repeated some of these ploys for chance creation. Their wingers were willing to drop deeper into midfield, drawing a centre-back. This often caused the wing-back to drift narrower, as the other forwards still had the pace to cause problems. So this often left Angelino in space wide on the left to advance and receive the ball. When Leipzig had the ball wide, they always overloaded the box to increase their odds. For the goal, Angelino is able to receive the ball high up and deliver it to the midfielder running into the box to create this overload. But on the defensive transitions, Leipzig were adept at counter-pressing to prevent Spurs from even beginning their attacking build-up. Overall, Leipzig's dynamism and athleticism helped them win their 1-versus-1 battles across the pitch, and that, combined with Nagelsmann's superior tactics and Spurs' injuries, meant that there could only be one result. But what other tactics did you notice? And of the teams left in the competition, which ones do you think Leipzig could beat? Drop it down in the comment below. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.